Hello everyone and welcome to my build video for the MAGICKA Sorcerer. This is the Roadrunner build. So the reason we call it Roadrunner is it does rely a lot on its movement ability. There's a lot of getting around required for this build. And it also originally was, during my testing phases, using a set called the Prisoner set. It no longer uses that because I didn't quite buy into it. But basically that's what we called it at the time. So we're going to stick with that name. I think it's catchy. And yeah, so this is one of the least balanced and most necessary to be nerfed SORC builds in the game. I mean, essentially speaking, the damage output of this is just not good. It shouldn't be the case, and I really hope they address the issue. It is specifically made, I should point this out, this is specifically made for no CP, and it's specifically made for an open world environment. Places you're not going to succeed too well are duels. Any duel where you have to stay in the open, you're going to run out of resources. And then CP will work, open world. It'll have the same potential. Its kill potential will be a lot lower than its no CP, though. The way it plays in no CP just fits so well with a couple of things that are not working too great in no CP at the time. I'm certain it will get nerfed. 100% certain this will get nerfed. Probably within a month of me making this video. So keep in mind, if you're investing a lot, really be aware this is likely to get nerfed. But yeah, let me go over the stuff that we're using here. So, our sets on the back bar, generic stuff, we're using 5-piece Lich. The reason we go for Lich is it's a great recovery source and it opens up the ability to run a monster set, of which we're going with Engine Guardian. So both Engine Guardian and Lich are our sources of sustain. We obviously need a high pool of sustain here. I'm actually going to port it to a no CP campaign real fast, just so you can see this properly while I explain. We're going to need that high pool of sustain so that we can manage our resources carefully. We are, however, using a lot of different mechanics to use our resources. So we are not just doing what I would describe as the typical shit of stacking recovery. And we're not just doing the typical shit of dark dealing. We're finding a balance between the two so that we can pretty well sustain in a no CP open world environment. You need the line of sight. That's going to be important to you. But generally speaking, it's working fine. So Engine Guardian is going to be a random proc. If we do get the stamina, we're going to dark deal our way up where possible. Or we're just going to use it to fill up and find the opportunity. If we are using Lich, we are getting a proc for recovery at all times. And it also gives us a bit of recovery and Magicka. The rest though, staff, you'd be better off going defending than decisive. I just can't be bothered farming it. It doesn't matter that much. So thus I am a decisive resto just because it's what I dropped. The next set is where a lot of criticism will come in from the people who do not understand the meta. The people who understand the meta will realize how strong this is. The reason it's going to get criticism, I guarantee some wanker in there, uneducated, is going to strike it, is because we are using a stamina set. We are using 5 pieces of Red Mountain. We're using all impent on our armor, by the way. Just keep that in mind. And one of the pieces we're using is the Red Mountain. The best way you could piece is heavy helmet on the engine, Red Mountain body medium. That'd be the best way you could get your stats, but each to their own, I guess. Doesn't matter too much. So Red Mountain gives us weapon damage, useless. Weapon crit, useless. Stamina, which is good. Stamina is nice, and we are going to need that in the build, actually. But the reason we're using this set, quite simply, is the 5-piece. When you deal damage with a weapon ability, you have a 10% chance to deal an additional 8,500 flame damage. This effect can occur every 2 seconds. This game is all about procs right now in OCP. I wish it wasn't. I'm going to point out real fast that anyone using this build, myself included, is a wanker. This build should not exist. Procs, they need a nerf, a hefty one. Just because in CP, the way your stats scale with all the CP and stuff, it makes it so that stats generally outweigh it. In no CP, procs are far more damage than you're going to generate with other sets. Even in CP, procs are strong, but no CP, gross, really. So, yeah. Why is this so good? It looks weird. The reason it's good is because you are using as a MAGICKA Sorcerer Crushing Shock as a spammable DPS. Crushing Shock has a lightning with damage, a flame damage, and an ice damage. That's 3 ticks. Your light attack also counts for this. So you have 4 potential chances. You have 40% chance per weave to proc the proc. So per 2 weaves, which is roughly 2 seconds, we're getting 8 chances to proc 10%. So roughly speaking, we're procking this every 2.5 seconds. It is procking very rapidly, putting out a lot of damage. And this shit hits hard. You will hit anywhere between about 4.5k on a really, really weak target. You can even hit up to about 6k with this. It hits very, very hard. Obviously, it can't crit. It's a proc. Anyone who tells you it can crit is an idiot, but they can't crit. But yeah, it works really, really good. It's brutal damage. So, our glyphs: spell damage, stamina recovery, and a reduced cost. The reason we go stamina recovery is that the ability to dark deal is going to be important to us open world. Dark dealing is something that I am actually not a fan of. I think that it cuts you down on a lot of options in the game. If you're getting interrupted, which is why, by the way, this won't work in duels, you're going to die. Any good player is just going to lock you down on interrupts. But open world, it works relatively nicely, and I don't have problems sustaining in battlegrounds at all because I use my environment carefully. I know when to come in and out and all of that. So, yeah, that's the setup explained. Hopefully people understand. Our stats then. We are sitting on 30k Magicka. You could get more if you went for Mage Light, but I prefer one other skill over that. We are sitting on 16.5k stamina. That's a large stamina pool, a lot of ability to dark deal. Remember, this is no CP stats, by the way. I'm not in CP campaign right now. 20k health, 1.7k unbuffed spell damage, more than enough. This proc is hitting harder than your crystal frags are going to hit with 3k spell damage, and it's spammable. So do not worry. To be honest, you could even drop that even lower. If you are struggling with sustain, go with another reduced cost. Fuck the spell damage. You don't need it at all, but I like the bit more damage. Our magic recovery, 1.1k, but again, we've got Engine Guardian, we've got Lich, and we've got Dark Deal because of 915 stamina recovery with our stamina. So although the recovery looks low, there's a lot of incoming sources of Magicka. I'm yet to have problems sustaining. We are a Vampire. The reason we go Vampire is to increase our Magicka and stamina sustain alike. More importantly on the stamina than anything else, though. But yeah, you are going to need both Magicka and stamina recovery. You have to find the right balance here. Crit is only 20%. It doesn't really matter. I'm sorry, but since the proc doesn't crit, it don't make the slightest difference. You're really not going to notice it. You are going to have huge burst damage in this build. So our skills. Our skills are as follows. Front bar, Ender's Fury. Way too good to miss in no CP, especially in Battlegrounds. The ultimate kill stealer. See someone on low health, bang that shit on them. Even if you're not fighting them, you're going to get the kill. It steals everything in Battlegrounds. If you want to get a good KD, log on a SORC, you're good to go. We're then running Crushing Shock. Again, that's going to be our procer of our Red Mountain. It's generically there. And yep, that's how we're going to use that. We're running Hardened Ward. That's our damage shield. Tooltip looks relatively low. It's 5.4k no CP. But it doesn't matter. We're relatively decent health pool and we can roll dodge a lot. We've got a lot of stamina. And I really haven't had any problems. And I only run one shield on this. Honestly, I do absolutely fine with this. Next, we're running Crystal Fragments. Obviously, your base DPS is going to kill shit. That's your burst. But don't make too much difference. Honestly, even if you just spam Crushing Shock, you are going to kill people because this proc goes off left, right, and center. Just keep your shields up, nail them, and life is good. We're then running a Dark Conversion. So this is our way to get our Magicka back from health. This is obviously Malcolm's main key skill. He is the inventor of this as such, though I guess it's pretty obvious in the end. It gives us 2k stamina away and gives us 4.7k Magicka back and a good health return. Very handy for bursting your Magicka up. We are going to use it on line of sight, and that's how we capitalize on all of this stamina that we get shoved on us with the Red Mountains. That's how we deal with that stuff. Meteor for our front bar ulti, just so we can get our Magicka up a bit and for a nice damage. You could also use Dawnbreaker. Your Magic's going to dip a bit under 30k then, but honestly, don't make a difference. Your damage is great. And then our back bar is Streak. Streak is going to be for mobility, obviously, and also if you do want to use it, you can use Meteor, then Streak through them for the CC, and that way your Meteor will hit them for the impact. Curse, bread and butter. If you don't know what that does, you probably never played Assault before, so bang that on your bar and you'll understand it very quickly. Healing Ward, that's going to be our heal and our second shield. Crit Surge, or Power Surge as the case will be, for your major sorcery. And then Boundless Storm is going to be my favorite skill in the game. This gives you mobility, very good movement speed, but more importantly, it's giving you resistances. Now, you could swap this skill out if you prefer 2 shields. I would suggest not. You're going to run out of resources very quickly if you do. Honestly speaking, I think that for no CP, Boundless Storm plus 1 shield works better than 2 shields. Like, the resistances this gives you makes you relatively tanky. I mean, you're going to be sitting on like 20k spell resist, so it's really not that bad. And yeah, I like the skill. I think the mobility works very good with a lot of the Battlegrounds game modes as well. Our last ultimate then is the Resto Staff. Resto Staff ulti is very, very good for heal, survivability. I mean, pretty much every SORC in the game is running this by now. Tons and tons of them are. It's very, very strong, very cheap. Probably even needs a bit of a nerf. I'd make that cost like 150 personally, but yeah, whatever. Our food then is the tri-food. We are using that to get our stamina, magicka, and health up. And we are using the mage as a mundus. We want that to get our magicka up that little bit. It is going to be important to get that magicka. You are going to notice without it. Gives you a lot of it. It's a very, very nice mundus indeed. Potions, we are using tripods. We want the stamina and the magicka. The health isn't that great, so if there's any other stamina magicka combos you like, you could try them. Each to their own. I do fine with tripods right now. I'm not too fussed about them, but yeah. So then our champion points. Champion points, very, very generic. I'm going to rush over these. 4 in Siphoner, 40 in Warlord, 3 in Sprinter. Essentially, we're just trying to get everything just over a percentage because they will round down, as per usual. 37, 56, 37 in here. 20 Tumbling, 30 in Shadow Ward. We don't block that much, but you do notice it sometimes where you need to. We've got a big stamina pool, so big shit. Anyone heavy attacking, block it. You can take their resource return, all of that. 7 in Blessed for the healing. 20 in Elfborn for the crit. 49 in Elemental Expert. 3 in Spell Erosion. 40 Shattering Blows. 52 Master Arms. Staff Expert. 22. That doesn't matter. Red Tree 52 Ironclad for the resistances. 28, 37, 37. 37 Bastion, 19 Elemental Defender. Like I said, check any of my builds out. The CP is very, very similar in all of them. So what I'm going to quickly do for you is I am going to port back to Craglorn. If Alex is still around, which I hope he is. Let me double check. He is, good. I'm going to show you the damage that it puts. Let me quickly whisper him. Keep in mind that I do have my CP in just because I can't be bothered respecking. But essentially, it's not going to make a difference. Our proc will hit the same with CP or without. That's why it's so good in no CP. And I'm just going to show you how much damage this proc actually hits. So all he's going to do is I am just going to spam Crushing Shock. His job is to survive that. And you're going to feel just how much damage this is. And obviously, you can stack this in your normal burst combo. So put a Curse on them, cast a Crushing Shock, cast a Fury, and frag. And that's your impact. All of that will hit in the same game tick and they will melt. But what I'm going to show you now is why Red Mountain is worth using. It's just worth using over any set in the game right now as a magicka destro using class. Let me get him out of group so I can find him so we can show you this. Sec. So yeah, he's going to be my test dummy. I'm going to show you exactly what this hits. Just be aware, this hits hard. Really, really, really hard. And again, I don't support the use of this. I shouldn't be using it. The reason I'm making this is essentially to create some awareness of how damn strong the procs are, because if there is one thing I would say, the procs need a nerf, and a big one, and you're going to feel that especially with this Red Mountain setup. So yeah, he's in a different instance. Let me port into him. So one question I get while we're porting in is here, why are procs so good in OCP? The reason they are is that your CP is scaling your skills, your stats, your damage, your resistances, and all of that. They increase your abilities damage. In no CP, your abilities are not increased, but neither are your procs. So your procs are not increased in both. What that essentially means is that your proc is hitting for more than some cases. It's a fucking ultimate in no CP. And that is definitely the case with this one. So Alex, generally speaking, is going to be a relatively decent target. He's going to have good gear setup and all of that. So you're going to feel your sort of lower end damage on this. Not completely the lowest, but a generally lower damage number for the Red Mountain. And you're going to see just how hard this shit hits. So again, all I'm going to do is spam Crushing Shock. His job is to stay alive. Where the hell has he gone? I think he's in a different instance. God damn it, he ported. I gotta port again. Yeah, so he's going to be one of the lower hits. And all that's going to happen is you're going to see a number appear at the top screen. And you'll notice when it comes in, that's going to hit like 5k, 4.5k. Constantly. Nearly every weave this will proc. So I would say, generally speaking, this procs every 2 weaves. It pretty much constantly goes. It's very, very, very powerful. And yeah, pretty good. So here's our victim anyway. So I've told him, all he has to do is live. That's his job. I'm only going to Crushing Shock. So we're going to put Major Sorcery up, Boundless Storm up, Light Tech for weapon damage proc, and then I'm just going to Crushing Shockwave, and you're going to see how much pressure his shields take here. Proc there. It proc there. Didn't proc. Procced. Procced again. Procced again. Procced again. Procced again. Didn't proc. procced. I mean, if you think about putting a curse in this, right, essentially speaking, they're fucked. So let me show you this properly with a full combo here, and then I'll do like a curse, a proc, and a frag, and you're going to see how much damage it is. So he's going to go full shields here. We're going to put a curse on him. We're going to crushing shock. Crushing shock. First curse goes off there. Crushing shock. Fury back up. Obviously, I don't get a frag yet. Typical. Well, I didn't get a single frag in that whole week. 1 sec. And that's how we get our resource, by the way, with the Dark Deal. So, let's get him back down here. Pop our buffs up. Curse is on him. Fury is on him. I mean, essentially, even if he spams shields, it is unsurvivable because this shit hits so hard that you just can't live. So, yeah, that is why Red Mountain is worth it, even though it's a stamina set. It spams 5Ks. It needs a nerf. Let me see how much actually it's hitting without a shield. And I'll show you exactly what it hits without any shield on him, just to give you a full demonstration of this. I'm just going to light attack until it hits. So I'll put my buff up. Light attack, that's an Oblivion. If you see a 1.9k, there's an Oblivion. There it is, 4977 this shit hits. Imagine this, right? You can take a spell damage set for like 300 spell damage, or you can take a set that every second weave hits 5k damage. What do you hit? It's obvious. You go with a proc because it's just so much damage. It's more than should be in the game, and yeah, I hope it gets nerfed for this video, quite frankly, but fingers crossed. Good luck with the build. I hope you can find the staff. It's probably nearly non-existent in the market. Best of luck, and I will see you out there. Please don't proc me. I hope this stuff gets nerfed swiftly, but yeah, best of luck.